Okay. Got it. I forgot that popped up. There are some things that we will be covering, and I know this is a very busy slide, but we wanted to just make sure that you understand the flow of onboarding. There is what we call an administrative side, which many of us do and do well. Those are your paperwork, your I-9s, your things you have to do to actually get a person hired, the offer letter, all of those things, the record keeping piece. All of us are usually excellent and pretty good at that. But the second part, which we have with the trainings, the things that actually get people bought in, and as I say, feel included in our organizations once we hire them, that's where some of us miss the mark or fall just a tad bit short. And that's what we're going to talk about today with some of the things. We're also going to send out this PowerPoint presentation, so there's no need in you copying the flow down. You'll get the flow. So we want to make sure that we incorporate many of these things into it. Then also, to follow up, we just need to make sure that these two things are also in there if you don't have them in your onboarding process: meetings and also evaluations. If you cannot get a rubric or some type of guide for if this is working, if you've been doing it for 20 or 30 years and you have some turnover, guess what? Your onboarding process may not be working. And it's time for you to refresh yourself and take some of the tips that we're going to give you today into serious consideration. So we're also going to put a little bit of what you need to do as far as those periodic check-ins and also evaluating your process. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was using the same terminology. So we wanted to make sure we understand onboarding refers to the processes in which new employees and new hires are integrated into the organization. I repeat, integrated into the organization, not just hired, thrown in and said, go have at it, check off your boxes, and we're done with you. No, that's not what it is. That is what we used to call orientation. The new hire orientation is very, very important, but we need to go beyond that. And it's often confused, as that second paragraph says, onboarding with orientation. Orientation, as I said, is necessary for that paperwork piece that I mentioned in the administrative part of the slideshow presentation, but we need to go to onboarding. And I love to say it and I hate to say it, but a true committed onboarding process can last anywhere from 6 to 12 months, industry standard and SHRM standard. So those are the things we're going to talk about today, but we wanted to make sure we had the terminology straight. Onboarding versus orientation. We're moving into onboarding with where our fine professionals are going to do. We hope to also cover with you today the 5 C's of onboarding: compliance, clarification, culture, connection, and check back, your 5 C's. And we also have an article we're going to send out to go along with that. So with all of that said, enough is enough. I'm going to go ahead and get our wonderful panel started and go ahead and start asking these fine questions. So panelists, again, thank you and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and with this question, I would love to start with Pete, if Pete doesn't mind, and I'm going to throw this one to you. How have you ensured employees are onboarded effectively and they receive the welcome like none other, and they feel as though they are a part of your organization? What tactics have you used to do that?
Very good question. And we've actually been looking at this since 2018 as a way of differentiating ourselves. And I think one of the things that you have to have is a standard, right? So your managers have to understand that this is a big part of their role, is helping people become part of the family, if you will. If you think back to your best job ever, right? So you were welcomed, you were brought in, and you were made to feel like it feels like I've been here forever. I've been here a month. I feel like I've been here forever because people embraced you as a worker in the place. One of the things that helps is checklists and having a methodology for getting people oriented to and it's not orientation, but it's, hey, make it easy for me. I don't have to go ask someone about everything. It's all kind of there. If I'm both as a manager, I'm telling people what's going to happen, but also as an employee, here are things I can look for.
Great. Thank you, Pete. Thank you. That was spot on. And Nikki, I know you have worked in a few organizations, but we talked about your newest organization, especially if it's a smaller organization that you're working for now. Could you tell us a little bit about how you are able to do that same question with making sure people feel as though they are a part of the organization? What tactics and techniques do you use?
So because we are smaller, we have a total of 24 people. That's the office and the warehouse. Their very first day, they come in, they're with me, and I walk them around and introduce them to everyone. And we go through and do the paperwork stuff and the safety orientation, that type of thing. But I don't just then like go down the hall. Now you're in the warehouse. I take them over to the next person that they're going to be training with and meeting with. And so every step, there's a specific person that is showing them, this is this area, this is what you're doing here. And so that way they have an opportunity to not just learn the job, but learn the people, because, 24 people, we know everybody. So I think that that makes a huge difference when you make it a point to do that. And then also I make it a point to, whenever we have somebody new, constantly walk through and just check in, every couple of days. Hey, how's it going? How are you doing? Do you have any questions? If you need to talk to me, direct them to my office. I try to keep an open door policy so that there's that constant opportunity for communication.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Now, Olivia, can you walk everybody around in your organization and make sure with your size that, because you're in the middle, we've got large with Pete, small with Nikki, and you're mid-size. So are you able to use those same tactics, or is it a little bit different with you?
It's a little bit different, but I will say from our CEO down has been a big component of trying to make sure everybody understands where they fit in with everything. So that's one of the things during that first week. That's basically all onboarding. We do nothing but onboarding that first week, and we go to different departments because some of our guys work out in the field. We go out in the field, which they all love, and watching them put up power lines and put up a service light and things like that. But it's basically by the end of Friday, if they understand just a little bit of how their part of their job affects the whole company and affects people keeping the lights on, that I've made my goal for that. So
yes, and we want you to keep that A, because you are an A driver. So you have made an A in that goal, and I love it. And I will say from the city's perspective, a little bit different industry, but I just wanted to kind of put my input on this one. We went a step further to make people a little bit more comfortable to learn what it is that they are about to serve as far as the citizens. So we made a history of Greensboro video where we show all of our new hires upon their first day coming in. They have to actually log on so they can learn about the community in which they serve. And we did a little bit of research, and that helps so they can have buy-in and say, yes, I'm actually proud to make a difference in this work that I'm doing because of watching this video and seeing how far Greensboro has come. So just another little tidbit. Now with that, Nikki, I know in your past life, maybe not this one, but when you had multiple locations, because we talked about that before, how do you handle onboarding in multiple locations? And I'm also curious, so the three of you all could kind of start thinking about it, how in the world can you handle it being on Zoom and being remote? That's got to be interesting. So could you talk to us a little bit about that?
So ironically enough, prior to COVID, because I previously worked for Carolina Pool Management, so I hired and trained lifeguards for 9 different counties. After they came to Greensboro maybe twice, first would be their interview, and then second would be the general staff meeting. Outside of that, I did not see them in my office. So everything that we did was virtual. We did a lot. And also you have to take into consideration the age group that I was working with, because about 98% of my staff at the time was ages 15 to 21. So getting them via text message, via email, via Facebook, those things are actually really important and much easier to do than even just talking to them on the phone. Nobody likes to pick up the phone. So, you know, working with lifeguards, I did a lot of virtual. We used Salesforce to keep up with information. We used DocuSign to get documents sent out and signed, and we created virtual folders so that when paperwork came back in, I didn't have to print out a bunch of stuff. I kept folders virtually that only had a connection to myself and to our corporate office that was based out of Atlanta. If there were any concerns or issues, then I would go to the facility. So I think that was probably the harder part, because there were times where I would have to be in Clemens for a concern or an issue or training or whatever. And then the same day I would have to be in Pittsburgh for a swim lesson sign up. So that would be, you know, easy, a 2-hour drive. And then whichever direction I was coming from, it was still an hour back to the office. And I probably had not even like started my office day at that point. So something that was a huge help was to have assistance. I had people who I had supervisors that could be in the different areas so that they could be my eyes and ears and keep me informed, so that I could stay connected to what was going on. And then also people who helped me in the office. So when I was out in the field, they would be able to, you know, answer the phone and do those administrative type things. So the hard part was getting to everybody, because I needed them to see me. I needed them to see the supervisors. They needed to see the general manager. So we had to do a lot of traveling. The easy part, especially with the age group, like I said, that I was working with, was the digital aspect of it, which was huge. So that was a huge help.
And I think the takeaway of what I'm hearing you say, and you just let me know, is right now in this age, in this society in 2022, the unpredictable 2022 that we live, we have to meet people for where they are. And we have to be comfortable with the way that we hire, the way we onboard. All of those things we're used to are a little bit different now. We have to get creative. Okay. Is that what you were saying? Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Olivia, what about you?
Well, Maria is not going to be shocked, but I like technology. But one thing that I've really focused on, like onboarding and just in our daily day-to-day work environment, is utilizing technology that we currently have to the fullest capabilities. So like we have a LinkedIn Learning account. I've created LinkedIn Learning Paths. So like a professional development section, you know, what are members, what are cooperatives, kind of what I do during our onboarding during the first week, where people can see it, our employees can see it, they can do it at their own pace. Even employees that have been here for years still like to go through it just to see what is being said. So my biggest advice is look at what you have and see where you can meet with that person and also utilize what you're currently using.
Absolutely. And it does not have to be expensive. From what I'm hearing you say, you can kind of capitalize on things you already have. And I hate to say it, even for the smaller groups online, you know, using Google and things such as that, just as a baseline until you can purchase those softwares or utilize and up your packages, as I'm sure Pete has done with those nice packages that he has. So what have you done with multiple locations, Pete? Oh, Pete, I think you're muted. Thank you.
It kind of threw me when you said that, Maria, because the reality is, from my context, you know, our plants that we operate are huge operations, and you're really, you are on site. I mean, you're going to be on site. Now, a huge celebration when the masks came off. I have to say that. But you know, so from an orientation standpoint, certainly, getting people onboarding wise, we have lots of video, we have lots of training, all of those things to get people a view toward the experience. and thinking through, well, what am I going to do with the plan, and what's the expectation? And really, from my standpoint, those are the kind of things as well that we can be doing to help the people out. Is, hey, what am I responsible for in this role? Really clarify what the role and the responsibilities are, and to the extent that you can put that person in contact with those they're going to be working with directly, so they get a view toward what's really important. How do I succeed up front? Go down that path. That's a great thing. But within the plan, and interesting in preparing for this, you've got more of the blue collar roles in the plant doing the assembly and operations things, and then you have the white collar in the office environment, and two very different environments to be in. From that standpoint, certainly the office environment is much easier because there is so much online.
Right.
The blue collar, on the other hand, really, I'm thinking more about that relationship. Not that I'm not in the white collar environment, but in the blue collar, it's, hey, this is a cool place to be. I hope you enjoy it here as much as I do. I hope you see this facility is really fitting your needs. And here are the things that you can go and explore when you get here that might suit your needs, that might be of your interest.
Wonderful. And I just wanted, Pete, you brought up a great question as far as, and I'm going to punt to Olivia to start this one, as far as buy-in from senior leadership, from management. I know in order to make that effective transition from that one day or half a day, new employee orientation, here's your papers, fill it out, welcome, here's your benefits, blah, 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 going about your way, to we're committing to 6 months or a year of this type of program to make sure that we have the culture buy-in, to make sure that we have the job training that might be needed, and not just, I'm going to put you out there because we're 50 people down right now and I need you in the field tomorrow or right after this orientation. How did you get, Olivia, senior buy-in to move to this onboarding aspect of things?
So I'll give you a little bit of background. So when I started here, there was no HR person. There was no really, just doing paperwork and whatnot. So when the first year, we were doing paper applications. I had 300 sitting in my office one year, and that was never fun. But, slowly, when you start talking about these things, sometimes it doesn't happen overnight, but eventually the senior management will have that light bulb click on and go, oh, you're right. We do need to do this. And I mean, I think this environment right now is a perfect example, because, people are leaving for whatever reason, the mass resignation, and the people that you have onboarded during that time are more likely to stay than anybody else, because they love the culture, they love the company, and they have their complete buy-in from there.
Wonderful. So I'm curious, Olivia, approximately, just a range, how long did it take for you to get that buy-in?
To get to the week, it took me about 5 years, but to get a full day, which was the first step, was it took me after 2 years. So I had a full day of them to get onboarding for a week, and we're up to where we're doing a full-blown onboarding at this point for the last at least 5 years.
Great. And the takeaway from that, everyone, is it may not come when you want it, but if you are persistent like Olivia, it will come right on time and you will eventually get to that point. So, Nikki, let's go back to you. I'm going to save Pete for last. What about you? Because I know this new role that you're in now, the role that you're in, you said you've got some administrative things you've got to do. So maybe walk us through how you're working with buy-in in a smaller environment.
So, we're all very familiar here, just first names and, text and stop by. Hey, how are you doing? Our CEO is Kat Mendenhall at Standard Tools and Equipment. And I usually use my iPad to take notes, and I have a section on there called Chats with Kat. I don't even know if she knows that, but that's what I've labeled it. And so whenever I have questions throughout the day, I just make note of them. And I make it a point once a week to sit down with her and just fire off questions. This is what I'm noticing about this. This is what I'm noticing about this. What are your thoughts on this? And, I know that she is the type of person that wants to stay very connected to what's going on. Everybody here is cross-trained to do something else. Kat was cutting the grass earlier today. She'll get out there on a forklift. She's forklift certified. I'm getting forklift certified. So we all try to stay very connected in that regard. So I think just keeping those lines of communication open and not feeling like you have to take any one thing on by yourself just because it's your department. And it's also a huge relief because you know you have that support. So even if it's not something that we've been doing, she'll always say, well, let me think about it. And so I think that the main thing is the communication, keeping those lines of communication open, making sure you're asking those right questions so that everybody's staying on the same page.
Absolutely. That's so great. And I just wanted to interject before I go to Pete. It is so important that cross training. It is a very, very good thing to do. But again, I know it might be easier for a smaller organization where the city of Greensboro, we really can't do that, or services might, stop as far as your trash and fire and police. But one way that we get around that, which I highly, highly suggest for everybody, and it is a fun thing that can also build employee morale. Take one day, whether it's at the employee picnic or another day, and have what we call a day in the life, where you have people to sign up where they can cross-train and in a safe environment, of course, in safe way, they can do other jobs. We're about to do that. And I have 2 people next week that are shadowing me with equity and inclusion so they can learn about what we do. They can learn about if this is something that they want to apply for one day. So little things like that, you can put in an onboarding program, but you also can implement for the organization as a whole to help and make that organization more sound. Just a little tidbit. So Pete, Balbo, what do you all do?
I think part of the process, if you will, Maria, is really having someone who's a guide, right? So helping you navigate the landscape, figure out all those small things that take a lot of time. I can waste a lot of time wandering around a big place like our campus trying to find things. If someone helps me and kind of shows me what the lay of the land is, I mean, it's interesting. I've been in a lot of different organizations. No IT system's the same. So what are the best practices within this organization for getting to what I need to get my job done? Those are the kind of things that are critical. Save me time. Let me look really good because I'm mastering these things quickly. I'm not kind of flopping around trying to find things. And so from that standpoint, I really think, having someone assigned as a guide, as a mentor, is critical. And typically we have that person, even with an experienced hire. My boss, when I first got here 10 years ago, was wonderful in saying, hey, this is where this is, this, and this. Hey, we're going out to lunch, relax. It's going to be great. And it was, I mean, she was such a great personality to begin with that I felt instantly like part of the family. And at the same time, she made sure I had those things that would make me successful.
Wonderful. And formal mentoring programs are great, but also, as Pete was just saying, informal mentoring programs can also help, where you just connect people to make them feel more buy-in and also better understand the work that they're about to do. So I love it. Now, my next question is, we've got the senior leadership. They're like, great. We've got our chat with, who do we have, Nikki? Chat with, I forgot her name. Chris?
Chats with Kat.
Chats with Kat. That was easy. I should remember that. It's the glasses. Let me take them off. Now remember, chat with Kat. That's an easy one. But now we get down to the managers, the frontline people that the people are reporting to. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Olivia, I can't take a week. I can only give you a day, 6 months. No way. Pete, So Pete, what about those managers who are like, I've got to have this new employee. I don't have time for this onboarding. Bring me back orientation. How do you handle that type of non-buy-in?
So that's really a discussion where you have to be persuasive about what it takes to be successful in that role. I mean, there's no question. Every organization is different. The way things work is different. I've been lots of places. Hey, how things can work can be very different. So show me how to succeed. And if you don't, hey, then manager, it's on you. I mean, you're sub-optimizing your investment to start with right there. And when you've taken the time to find this talent, and bring them in, and that's a huge investment in time today. If that person goes out the door after a week, a month, 3 months even, maybe they stay that long and assess and say, you know what, not seen enough. Then you're starting all over. So this is where you're building that relationship where the person says, yeah, I'm feeling really good about this place and I want to stay here.
Wonderful. Olivia, what about you?
I agree with Pete. I mean, with our culture nowadays, we had to go from, I used to joke when I first started here, we were still in 2001, maybe 1999 in a lot of our ways, but our culture has grown over the years. And with that comes the understanding of, wanting to find somebody that fits in, that understands the culture, understands what a cooperative is, which I know most people probably don't on here. But, that is a big thing for us. So our managers, pretty much when we said we're doing a week, they said, okay, because they feel like the same way, like the senior management is that if we don't put enough effort into somebody who's new, what is it going to stop them from going somewhere else because they don't have that connection?
Right. And then you waste the time, the money, the effort that you put into bringing that person there for lack of properly onboarding. Love it. Love it. Nikki, what about you?
So I feel like I'm a very strong believer in disassembling the hierarchy. I feel like everybody has their titles and their positions, but the reality of the situation is that we are each one a piece working towards the greater goal, which is a successful business. So having that said, I don't like to be the type of person that comes in and gives demands. I like to bring people in. Hey, this is what I see happening. How can we fix this? And so in doing that, I like to empower my management staff by including them on the conversation, even when I'm interviewing. Once I do the phone interview, from there, any in-person interview moving forward includes the manager for that department. Then if they're hired, after they meet with me on the first day to do those administrative things and the safety things, from that point, any onboarding things that they do, any training things that they do is going to be with their manager with a program that they implemented and put together and got approved through myself and Kat. And so I feel like when you do that, you are, instead of doling out, here's the next set of things to do, you're saying, what is it that I can do to help you as my manager to keep your staff engaged and here? And so I feel like that sense of ownership, empowerment, letting them be that manager. And I think that helps.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Nikki, you kind of transitioned me to a nice point. In order for us to get those 5 C's that I talked about before with the compliance, the clarification, the culture, the connection, and most of all, the check back, because that's most important. I'm just curious, and any of you can answer this question. What should day one look like? Because I know I have in my mind what day one should look like. And we have on our nice little checklist, we're going to send down the PowerPoint, but just call out some things. What is important in day one? Any of you all?
I think introductions are probably one of the most important, especially for the warehouse staff, because I don't ever want them to feel like because they're in the warehouse that they don't need to know the people in the office. and vice versa. So the warehouse staff, I always take them through the whole building and introduce them to everybody, introduce them to everybody on the warehouse floor. And I introduce them by first names. This is Kat, this is Jason, this is Leslie, you know, give a little brief synopsis about what they do. And so that way, I like to keep that familiarity.
Gotcha. And one thing that I can say, Nikki is so lucky she's got everybody there. I tell you, we've got to find a place and get everybody there. It's just a whole production, literally. But the way around that is, again, use technology. There's so many free systems out there where you can make a video. If you can't pull everybody in personally, if you do have those multi-locations, make a quick video with your top folk introducing themselves, with some of your management team, with some of your programs. So at least, again, that down home feeling, if you can't do the handshake in person, you can do the visual and say, oh, that's that person, and so forth. Okay, what else? Name something else. Olivia, what were you gonna say?
I will say that my favorite part, and I know it's our favorite part of current employees and new employees, is going to lunch together. That's a big thing for us. That first day, I grab employees just in different departments, different people each time, and we go to lunch and we just chat about everything, life, family, you know, anything in between, but not work. We do not talk about work. That is the one rule. And it helps that person find that connection, the new employee find that connection with somebody else, and being able to go to somebody besides HR and having to answer those questions and building those relationships a little bit further.
Okay, what else? Anything else?
I will just say, relative to a facility, and I've experienced this because I go out to our plants, and our plants are huge. And I ultimately, you know, your first or second, I don't care, it's the third time I get lost somewhere. So you set the environment whereby people are just generally helpful, right? And saying, hey, you get lost. How can I help you? Where are you looking to get back to? And they guide you, and you're part of the family. And I keep going back to this, but there are people watching out for you. And quite frankly, the big facilities that we run, there's danger out there. I mean, you got to be careful as far as where you're going, where you're walking, and just paying attention. And so having people watch out for you, not only is it good from, you know, keeping people safe, but also from an employee relations standpoint, you know, the person feels like, hey, I'm developing these relationships with others. You know, they see me, they see I'm lost, they're helping me out, and probably strike up a relationship from there based on that.
Wonderful. So again, great thoughts. I didn't even have to probe more. I love it. You talked about the connection. The one piece that I know all of us are thinking, you have to get that compliance. So those bare things, the paperwork, the trainings, like the ER trainings and the harassment training, all of those you need to do day one, but also just getting to know them as employees and building that bond, and also getting to know other employees and the locations. That's what I'm hearing everybody say. Now, one piece that's near and dear to my heart that I want to make sure I bring out and ask you all about, what about the culture piece, the diversity, equity, and inclusion piece? Should that be brought up in onboarding? Should that be day one something that is discussed? And any of you all can definitely go to that question if you would like.
I mean, definitely. I mean, I don't even know if that's a question anymore at this point, because any culture that has that piece in there is going to be a better culture. We talk about anti-harassment, but we also talk about, you know, just being generally nice to people. And that's basically where it comes down to. I like to tell this in the anti-harassment is, if you're professional and kind, there's going to be limited issues going on. And, you know, that's really what it comes down to. But yes, you know, day one, and also, you know, we do it annually, talk about it, and, you know, we're under affirmative action. So that's something that we have to keep forefront in our minds at that point too.
Wonderful. Anybody else?
I would say generally, you know, because you have those videos online, you set that expectation before you even arrive. Everyone's seen the video. We keep track of that. Everyone knows we keep track of it because it's recorded that you took the course. That's the expectation. So now when you walk in, you expect how people are going to treat you, and how you can expect everything to go. And it just puts everything more at ease that way. So I
Absolutely.
think that's a huge bonus to have that out there and to set that level set for everyone.
So when I came in, there were different people that were helping the HR piece move forward. They had been a while without an HR person. And so there's a lot of groundwork things that I'm working on. I mean, for the most part, you know, there was a system, but there's also some corrections that need to be made. So I'm trying to work through, because I've been here since January of this year. So I'm trying to work through that piece of it. And so my plan is to get some of those administrative things ironed out, because of course, you know, we have the no harassment policy and we go over that and it talks about the specifics, race, gender, et cetera, et cetera. But DEI, I actually was a history major in school, and a lot of people don't realize that history correlates into
Absolutely.
human resources.
Mhm.
And so, and I studied African American history, North Carolina history. So it's near and dear to my heart. And at another company I worked for, I was on the DEI committee. So it is something that's extremely important to me. So that's actually on my list as one of my asks.
Mhm.
But I also have to get some other things ironed out. Like I literally am 6 days away from my 90 days with this company. So
wow, Nikki. Wow. I forgot it was that close.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And that's good. And what I can say, I'll say two things. One thing, offering up, you know, at the city of Greensboro, you know, we do have, which we've gone out into the community. We even presented at our HR association, HERMAG meeting as well. We have diversity drama, which, you know, from time to time, we can come to the organization, we can perform, we can kind of get people's mindset. It's an excellent program that we would love to assist anyone that needs it, that does not have that DEI structure. But also, just to put out there again, as I know Olivia would want me to say, when you have those gaps or those Nikki situations, like she just said, we do have HERMAG that is there, you know, that has a support system here of human resources professionals. And again, we have Olivia Jolly, who is our current president. And I think Katrina Gooch is also on the line as well, too, who is our past president as well as myself. So again, if you don't have what you need, don't feel like you can't accomplish it, because the culture, the DEI piece, that's very important right now to
Right.
move your organization in the right direction. So just don't say, oh, I'll get to it in 2023. Something major may happen where you need it in 2022. So reach out to those professionals who can help you pull across the finish line. And I guarantee you, your organization will be more sound for it. I've got one more kind of question Olivia touched on, then one kind of fun question that I just have to ask y'all. The question is about technology, and Olivia touched on it. Those companies that are on that may not have the LMS system like the city to capture things and to do, like Pete said, the early videos and be able to watch them before the official. What, again, specifically can some of these companies look at? Maybe not naming the vendor, but maybe describing what types of things you all have worked with to actually get this onboarding accomplished and done.
I can tell you from our point of view is, you know, we have Microsoft 365. That's something that we paid for an upgrade. You get all these different things that come with it. And this is not really onboarding, but we have created a leadership development succession training, basically. So it's a 5-year program where they can go in and select what courses they want to learn that year. They have some requirements and things like that. But, you know, it's all ran off of Microsoft Teams. It's not done through an LMS. It's not through any of that. So, I mean, it's a little bit of hard work on the front end, but in the back end, I just have to update it, keep it updated some way. And also using LinkedIn Learning. I know I mentioned it before, but that's been my friend lately. And it has so much education and knowledge that we can utilize in a smaller business, you know.
Wonderful. Pete?
And if I could add, just to hop on to Olivia's point there, what could be more personal than your manager or department coworker saying, hey, I've done these trainings, go out and try these because I really think they're going to help in your current role. I've been there and I've watched others in your job. these are critical, trainings that you can take part in to get ahead, if you will. Your first day, your first week, your first month, feeling like you're already ramping up, there could be nothing better.
Absolutely. And I know, and Nikki, I'm gonna jump in before I forget, because again, that memory goes sometimes, and this was a good one. Last year before last, when I had a group of new employees to start that work with me, they had literally 20 trainings that were uploaded to their learning management system. And I was like, 20 trainings, but did I expect them to complete them overnight? Absolutely not. That's part of the onboarding process, where the manager, as Pete says, needs to work with the employees and say, hey, this is priority. This is what I need you to do. And let's give you till this time frame to get it done. So again, whether you're using Teams, whether you're using an LMS system, what have you, work with your employees to manage the time frame so they don't feel overwhelmed. So Nikki, what were your thoughts?
So one of the problems, everybody's going to run into is that in-person sessions are usually shut down when you're trying to do like a group training. So one of the things that we do for our safety is we have YouTube safety videos that we use, and that's free. So that's awesome. For OSHA 10 and OSHA 30, we use 360 training. Now you do have to be on it's not live, it's self-paced, and it gives you like a time frame for 360. Like for OSHA 30, you can't do more than 7.5 hours in a day, and you have to do it for 4 days at a minimum. And if you read faster than the prompts read to you, that can be a bit much. But that is an option. And then another really good one that we use is Fred Pryor trainings, careertrack.com. They're awesome because they are live. Well, not all of them, but there are live trainings available, and they're interactive. So even though you can't see or talk to the other people online, you can communicate with the instructor. And so, they send you the PowerPoint in advance, you get the book virtually in advance, and they give you some questions to think about pre-seminar. So those are actually really good. And we have several people for onboarding and that have been here that we send to do Fred Pryor trainings, depending on what department they're in.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I will say, Meredith brought it up earlier, please, everyone, utilize our community colleges, our colleges that we have here. NC Works, there are so many programs. We had one that we wanted to get the speed up for some of our potential telecommunicators that we were working with in a program. We actually had a program we developed with NC Works to help them to work on their coding skills and their typing skills, to help them to kind of pace up in order to take those calls more quickly. So work with your community. That's what Greensboro's here for, and work with each other as you come on these calls to figure out how you can team together and maybe get some trainings done. Nikki already says she has warehousing. Find somebody else in Meredith's database, and maybe you all can bring someone in together and actually do that training and make sure that your people are properly onboarded. Pete, did you have something else?
Maria, I was going to put on my other hat for a minute because
Put that on, Pete.
Yeah, I have. I'm comp guy, right? I gotta speak a little bit to compensation here. And as I talk about all this stuff, because I'm always excited about new employees coming in and thinking about the career and developing in the career. But one of the keys here as well is, hey, we got to remember, if this is a new non-exempt employee, FLSA, we got to temper that enthusiasm, because if they take training home or they're doing stuff on their own time, what they presume to be, that's all stuff they can count against work, and they have to record those hours. So we got to be careful about that and make sure that you say, hey, you only need to be training while you're here on site. I don't need you to be taking this stuff home. We do, as you said, have a pace that we expect, and believe me, it's reasonable, but we don't want you to be spending that much time. And quite frankly, we didn't build in necessarily, and you may have to say this or not, build in budget for this. So if I send you home with all this stuff, then I got to pay you time and a half potentially for that. And that could be very expensive for our organization, and we can't do that. So just something else to think about.
Absolutely.
One of the ways
Oh, go ahead,
that we mitigate that, we use like Olivia, Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams a lot. And we have a calendar that's just for time off. And so if somebody's in training, we put it on the calendar. So they are able to do it from home, but they're not expected in the office that day. So
Okay.
that definitely helps. So they're still within their 8 hours, but they're not expected to come here and also do something else, so that they're compensated for their time. But yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even think to mention that.
Smart, smart. And one thing that I just want to say, I'll be the bad guy out of the bunch, because that's part of my, thank you, Fred, so much. That is part of my role in HR. If in this onboarding process, as far as compliance, the employee is not working out, I just give you the permission, document, and make sure you manage the person out of your organization, because everyone's not going to be a complete culture. Yay, we got it. There are some people that don't fit. And there are some people that once you present this onboarding, as fabulous as it is, they just won't catch on. But guess what? The four of us are giving you the green light and the okay. It's okay to work with your HR and legal to manage them out of the organization, to keep moving your onboarding for the organization forward. So I just wanted to say what probably nobody else might not want to hear, but it's got to be said. Work to make sure that it does work for your organization. And my last question before Meredith, I just wanted to see if there were any questions. The most important question: is it very important to give swag to new employees and new hires? I just wanted to know. Is swag important? Because some people get jackets, some people get a pen, some people get nothing. So what do you all do about swag to these new hires?
We do t-shirts, and people really seem to like that. Like in my database, there's literally, all the demographic information and shirt size.
Wonderful. T-shirts. Yay. Love them. Pete.
So,
or Olivia.
As I was joking with our marketing people, I said we need to start doing sets of 4, or start going some repeat items so I could have a set of 4. Yeah, we give swag out all the time. If you want a Randolph Electric umbrella, we got you. If you want a Randolph Electric chair, we have you. I just got a Randolph Electric chair, backpack, and a cooler all in one just now. So, we have a lot of fun with our swag. And I mean, when I leave Randolph Electric one day, I'm going to be sitting there going, that 70-year-old person putting it on eBay trying to sell Randolph Electric swag.
It might get some money, Olivia. And I expect mine next week when I see you. I want the back material. Yes. And Pete, we know Volvo. Come on, bring it with the swag.
The stores are within 100 yards of the corporate office here. There are stores at virtually all of the plants. So yes, people do get swag. And it's just building that relationship. It's making me feel like I'm part of the family. Hey, here I am. There's my pen. It's there, and it's everywhere. You're correct, and it's just part of where I live. So from that standpoint,
you're making me look for my city of Greensboro stuff. I don't have it near me, but I've got some swag. Okay, I've got some swag. And the other thing is, what better recruiting tool if you do give a little bit of swag, that t-shirt, that pen, that you are helping them to say, I feel confident enough to use this or wear this, to say this is my home place and I'm a part because I was properly onboarded. Absolutely. So that is all the panel has for you all. Phew, hopefully we covered everything. But Meredith, I don't know if you want to open it up for questions or how you want to do that, but we just want to say on behalf of all 4 of us, thank you. Onboarding is not hard. It's easy, but you have to work and be consistent, whether it is 2 years or 5 years or 7 years or whatever, like Olivia did. Be consistent and hang in there and you'll get your program.
Thank you so much, Maria. Awesome job moderating. I would like to open up to the screen or the floor, whatever you'd like to call it, and see if anyone wants to just toss out a question for the hosts, or wants to share what kind of swag you have, whatever motivates you this afternoon. Questions for the panel?
And Meredith, if I could just say really quickly again, just to make sure it's out there, use your local resources that you have. If you have any gaps, they can help you recruit. The training association can maybe give you some tips, because we do have a local training association within maybe about 70 miles or so. The closest one I believe is in Raleigh, and then Charlotte, we have a association that has affirmative action that is in those areas as well. But again, like I said, HERMAG is here. There are also associations for each of your areas. Utilize them if you have any deficiencies, and again, utilize us if you need to as well.
That's right. And you know, we've got the community college, Steve Castello on the phone from Guilford Tech. Thank you, Steve. And of course, Fred Henry with Guilford Works, two of my biggest resources in the community for your workforce and training needs as well. Again, we have Family Forward, workplace information, anything we can help you to educate you on opportunities for your workforce or things you might include in your culture or onboarding, just let me know. Also, you know, if there's any questions you would like to know in general about the community as far as HR, as far as practices the different companies are using, share those with me, and likely others have the same thoughts or concerns. We can do an anonymous poll and share those results with you as we do on a fairly regular basis. But if not, Maria, thank you, and Olivia and Pete and Nikki, thank you for taking your time. I know you're crazy busy, as we all are, and thank you to those of you who joined us today. One more, does anyone have any further comments? If not, we will see you next time.
I think Brett has his hand raised.
Oh.
Yes. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. It was very, very informative. My question is, will this be available recorded? I'd love to share this with people in our organization. We're going through a difficult period of starting to get upper management to understand the value of how crucial onboarding is to retention. And I think this would be an eye-opening experience for them to sit through with the rest of us.
Yes, it is being recorded. I will be glad to share that with you, as well as an onboarding checklist and information about HERMAG as well. So I'll share that with you. And then if there are additional questions, just reach out to me and I'll connect you to our panel. I'll also share the panelists' contact information as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good afternoon.
You too.
Thank you, Brett.
All right, Maria, anything else on your end? If not, we'll let you
I think
have
Monica and Christina.
Oh, there we go.
Christina's
All right,
online.
Monica.
Hi, this was very informative and I thank you guys so much. I will be the new HR director for a company that's coming into Greensboro, LT Apparel. And so I am not listed on your invite. Actually, my chief human resource officer sent me this, and so I jumped on. I'm still currently working at my other location, but I jumped on because I wanted to ensure that I get connected with the commerce and learning information. So if I know, Maria, you stated that you will be sending this out. I'm not on the invite. So if you guys could get my email address so that I can get this information. It was very informative and I thank you guys so much.
Monica, consider yourself added to my list now, and we'll make sure that you're official now, and I'll make sure that you get this and any other further communication from the chamber as well. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I actually start on Monday. So
Congratulations.
We'll fill your inbox quickly here.
Okay,
right,
I'll reply. I have your email address, Meredith, so I'll send you something shortly so you'll have mine.
That's perfect. Thank you. Welcome to LT.
Thank
And
you.
Meredith, Christina just said real quick how they managed employee files digitally. Woo.
So I was the one that mentioned that. And what we did, you can use Salesforce because it's a CRM platform. You can use that to also manage employee data. So you can input all of their demographic information. You can actually upload forms. If you send out stuff via DocuSign or a system like that, because there's others, then when it's sent back, then you can upload that information to Salesforce. And a lot of that keeps you from having to keep all of the paper documents. Now, of course, there's some things on paper that you have to keep. You have to keep them in a specific place or a separate location, but things that can be done digitally, if you use something that is password protected. Each person has to have their own passwords. You can't share passwords, and only certain people have access to. So that's why Salesforce was such a good thing for us. Now here we do all paper because there's not many of us.
Mhm.
And I will tell you from a cheaper point of view, because I know that we don't have that availability. I have been doing digital files for my company for a very long time, but what we did was put it out on a server that's replicated. Because one of the things that I was more concerned about, let's say we have a fire, everything goes up in smoke, all my files are paper. And where do we go from there? And so I upload our I-9s on a separate folder on the server so I don't get in trouble with the IRS or anybody over there. But I also have the employee personnel files in that server where I dictate what employees have access to it. And then, the IT person has access to it, which is just how it is. And it gets replicated in a different location. So just in case it does go up in smoke, we still have it. So.
Great.
Anyone else? I think we have one in the chat. Oh, never mind. That was Christina. Other questions for our panel? Well, if you think of any, just send an email to me and we'll be glad to send it to the panel for answers. But we appreciate your time and be looking for our information as follow-up for the call. And we appreciate you joining us today. Thanks again to our panel.
Thanks.
And we look forward, yeah, Pete. Oh, Pete. Thanks,
No,
Pete.
thank you.
Y'all take care.
you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
All
Have a good
right.
one.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.